What is something that people misunderstand about the loud person in the classroom, the person causing shenanigans, the class clown? What are people missing about that person?
Can I give you a tree metaphor? This is my favorite way to describe these big behaviors. Yeah. So, I want you to imagine that the tree is the image of the child or the youth. So the idea is that the leaves and the branches and the fruit that the outside of the tree represent what we see on the outside of the student. So maybe it's the big behaviors like flipping the desk, or maybe the shutdowns and not responding in the moment, or the running out of the classroom, the crying. So what we see or what we hear even, like I hate you or I want to die, things like that. Right. So that's the outside of the tree. And so what do we do when a tree isn't thriving? Right? We might prune, we might add supports from the ground up. Right. And we know that might help in the short term, right? But we're looking for long-term success. So if I think about, if I just focus on the behaviors of the student through behavioral interventions like rewards, punishment, consequences, if the stick is long enough, if the reward is big enough, we might see some success in the moment. But we want long-term success. So what do? We go back to the unseen roots. We add nutrients to the soil. And I think about for a tree, if I'm adding nutrients to the soil, is it going to change in a day? Not really. In a month? Maybe a little bit. Sometimes in a year, we don't even see the change, right? And for students, for children and youth, we go back to their unseen roots instead of focusing on the big behaviors. And we focus on these three things: building attachment, so relationship. I always think of social baseline theory. Connection is our baseline. We are neurobiologically wired for connection. Right. And I think about the fact that babies die without connection. So this is a biological need. So we build connection. We reduce external stress where we can. And I think of, as educators in general, because that's mostly who I work with, and foster parents too. I work with cases in the ministry. Naturally, they're reducing external stressors by even creating predictability in the days for our students. Because kids who've been through hard things often have had a lot of unpredictability, right? And so just by creating predictability can help calm the nervous system, right? Or even by giving choices. Because often these kids with big behaviors look like they're seeking control, like they're often labeled manipulative, defiant, oppositional. I always say that M word. I cringe every single time, right? How do we reframe that? It's not that they're manipulative, but they're trying to manage their environment in the only way they know how. So how do we support them with that? We help build their locus of control by giving choices, and then by pulling from their strengths, helper roles. So attachment, reduce stress, and one more, build identity. Who am I? Where do I fit in this world? Am I lovable? Often kids who've had early life traumas feel like they're unworthy. There's something wrong with them. And if they're going into the flood zone, like the fight, flight, freeze, and that's an automatic response, if they're doing that over and over and over again, it does feel like they're out of control. So it's giving them the tools to be in control.